Okay, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make an account with Zeit. And there is a free tier, so you don't need to be paying any money to get started with this thing. I didn't pay money for this for the first little while when I was just trying to figure this thing out. So don't worry about that. One thing to know though is if you're using a free account, it's sort of understood to be the open source account. So whatever you push up, people are going to be able to look at your source code, which is fine when you're just trying something out. If you're working for like a company, then of course this would not be good, so that you just pay money. But if you're just trying to figure this thing out, there's a free tier. Don't worry about it. Just sign up for that. And what they suggest you do is download the Now desktop app. And what this is going to do, I believe when you do that, it's going to ask you to sign in to your account. And so if that's the case, then that's great. And this thing is going to also install the CLI, Now CLI for you. And this is what we're going to be using. I don't really use the desktop thing too much. I just use the CLI because it's so nice and fast. Okay. Great. So let's go into our terminal. And if you do now version, you should see something come up. Looks like I need to update. I'll do that later. And that's good. So if that means it's installed, that means you're ready to go. And if you do now help, you're going to see a bunch of commands here. And you're going to notice that they have something called login and log out. So if for whatever reason you're not logged in, you can easily log in by typing now space login. So yeah, if that's the case, do that. Okay, great. So we're ready to go. Now let's just try to deploy something. Let's get a feel for this. I'm in my desktop. I'm just going to make a directory called Zeit now try, I guess. And I'll just cd into that. No, cd into now try. Okay. And I am going to make a index file, and I'm just going to open that and put something in there. Okay, so in my index file, I'm just going to say I'm not going to do everything. I'm just going to type an H1 here. From Zeit. No, from Gary's computer, actually. On Zeit. Okay. Okay, so this is my project. Wonderful. And now I want to deploy it. So before, I don't know what your situation was before Zeit, but for me, deploying was always such a big thing. It was like I gotta roll up my sleeves, get my mind into the right state of mind, I guess, and prepare myself for this big task called deployment. But if you're using Zeit now, it's pretty simple. So I'm in my directory here, so I have my index file here. I can just type now and enter. And it does its thing. So it's deploying this project under, this is my username. And it just gave me a random URL. And let's check this out. And there we go. So this is not on my local machine. This is deployed. Anybody could go to this. You could go to this, although I'll probably delete it before this or after this video. So this is crazy. This is super fast and really easy. If I wanted to show my teammate what I've been doing, I could just, rather than call him over to my computer or rather than tell him to check out my Git repo, I could just say, hey, just go to this. I could Slack him or message him this URL and he could just see it. It's so fast. And it's awesome. So let's look at this URL here. What's going on here? The way it works is it's going to take whatever the name of your project was, which is now try in our case, and then it's going to give it a dash, and this is a unique identifier. So it's just a random set of characters, and then it's going to be go to .now.sh. And every time I deploy, it's going to give me a new URL because it's going to be a brand new thing. So I can't edit this ever. I can only just push out a new one. And this is on purpose. This is actually really good practice. It seems kind of weird at first. Oh, I can't edit my project. But it's actually a really, really good feature, or not a feature, but a really good parameter. What's the word? A purposeful limitation, whatever that word's called. I can't think of it. That Zeit is placing on you. And I'll probably be referring to this this site every once in a while when talking about Zeit, but there's this thing called 12 factor. And these are just like 12 really good practices when developing an app. And so one of them, and it sort of says in a few different places, is that your code, there should not be anything valuable in your code that you want to keep, that you're afraid to destroy. You should be able to just like spin up a new one, and it's no big deal. And your database and your state and all that is somewhere else. And that's a huge topic that we'll talk about later. But just so you know that whenever you deploy, it's going to go to a brand new URL. Now this is going to be really annoying if you're wanting to show somebody something and they have to like be hitting a different URL every time. That's fine because you can alias it to a domain name, which we'll talk about later. But for now, just know that whenever you type now, it's going to go to a different domain name. So let's just change this to something else. Let's type now again. And you notice that this is a different unique identifier. The way I don't know exactly how they do this. They determine this unique identifier based on the code you're pushing up. So if I push up the exact same thing, well, first of all, let's just go to this and confirm that it's working. Great. If I was to do this again, I didn't change anything. Let's just see what happens. Oh, it gave me a different URL. That might be different with Node.js projects. Anyways, so the idea is if you don't change anything, it shouldn't give you a new URL. I guess with static sites, it's a little bit different. I'll have to look into that later. But yeah, so this is the basic idea. And if I want to see what I've deployed, if I go now ls, so ls is sort of like, if I type ls in my terminal, it shows me all the contents of the folder I'm in. This is just like a terminal thing. If I do now ls, it's going to show me all of the different things I've deployed. So in this case, I've deployed now try, and it's a static site, and it's ready, and it's 43 seconds old. So if you wanted to figure out like what you've done, you can just type now ls, and it's going to give you a history of everything that you've deployed, which is really great. Okay, so I think that's pretty good for static sites. In the next one, we're going to go over a Node.js project. So we'll see you in the next one.